All right, 2022 is in the books and 2023 is upon us. So to kick off the new year, I thought I'd share the top 5 book recommendations I have for people to read going into the new year. I think 2023 is going to be a year full of both opportunities as well as challenges, and there's going to be a lot of uncertainty out there. So I picked these books, not because they're my top 5 favorite books, but because they're the top 5 books I've read that help with both your mindset as well as your perspective. In a year of uncertainty, really having a good foundation on those things is not only going to help you, but may actually differentiate you from the crowds out there. So kicking things off, the first book I recommend is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I can honestly think back to the moment when I was listening to this on Audible for the first time, and it absolutely changed my life, and I knew it was never going to be the same again. It does a really good job of explaining things in a new way, like assets and liabilities, but more importantly, I think it does a great job about telling you how to think about things in terms of where you want to go in your life and what you want to achieve, and are you actually doing the things that are needed to reach those goals. So it's something I totally recommend, and is a book that will change your life when you read it. The second book I'm going to recommend is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Despite the title, it is something that I think is really critical for anyone in terms of communication. And even though we live in a world where there's so much online presence as well as social media, our most important interactions are still on a person-to-person basis. And this book really helps with you not only communicating on a level that helps people where they're at, but also making sure you're getting your message across in a way that's going to be understood and helpful to people. So completely recommend that one as well. The third book I'm going to recommend is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This one's a little bit of a curveball and kind of has mixed reviews based on who you talk to, but it has done a really good job for me when I was reading it to kind of think about how I want to actually have goals and make them come to fruition in a new way. It talks about how you look at things and how you believe they're going to happen, and if you actually commit yourself to them, it is pretty incredible how those things can really happen in your life. The next one I'm going to recommend is by Ray Dalio, who's honestly on the Mount Rushmore of my investor class, and it's called Principles. And this one does a really good job about talking about kind of how Ray Dalio, who's a billionaire hedge fund investor, was able to create both his company as well as how he executes on decisions in his life based on the principles he's mapped out. So this book's cool in 2 ways. One, you get to peek into the mind of a billionaire and see how he does things and see some pretty cool principles that he's figured out. But 2, it makes you question yourself and say, what are the guiding principles I have in my life and how am I making my decisions moving forward? And the 5th book I'm going to recommend is written by an absolute savage named David Goggins, and it's called Can't Hurt Me. This one, honestly, is a story of a Navy SEAL who went through some crazy adversity to be able to accomplish one of the most incredible lives I've ever heard of. And when I read this, it really turned around my mindset of what I could do. I will honestly say I would not have completed a marathon in 2022 if it wasn't for me reading this book. And funny story, I actually was listening to his motivational speeches on loop for my entire marathon. So it's one of those ones that makes you kind of think back as to what you're going through and saying, hey, it could be worse out there, and I should keep pushing myself to really accomplish my goals. So those are my top 5 books. Let me know if you've had a chance to read them or plan to read them. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on them, as well as if you know of any other books that you think would be good to go into the new year with. Either leave a comment or DM them to me, and I'm always interested in those as well. So hope everyone had an incredible 2022 and absolutely killed their start to the 2023.